While financial experts recommend that people stick a little bit of money back every single month for large purchases or unexpected expenses, many people still do not or cannot. And it's estimated that only 45% of Americans actually have $1,000 saved. So today we're going to talk about some cracks that might be in your spending, and we're going to talk about ways that you can try to control your spending just a little bit more to be able to stick some money back into savings. I hope this helps someone today, and I hope you'll stick around. So, if you're having trouble saving money or you're looking for some creative ways to save money, I have several today that might have just been overlooked, or maybe you just didn't look at it from this angle. One of them is eating out. Now, we hear everybody say, don't eat out, cook at home. Well, we know that that's not really reasonable. A lot of us are going to eat out from time to time. But to eat out and to plan for that time that you eat out, that is the key to not going over your budget. It's when we just randomly decide to go through a drive-through or order in, or we don't have anything laid out for supper, or we don't feel like cooking. Those are the times that really get us. Those are the times that blow our budget. But if we have like a birthday or an anniversary and we plan to go out and we know we're going to spend X amount of money to go out for this event, it affects our budget differently because we've maybe planned to eat out, but we didn't plan for all of these other times that we were just going to decide to eat out. So that's our first tip. Another great way to control your spending is to have two emails. I started doing this a few years ago, and my gosh, the stress that it relieves is unbelievable. Have an email that is basically just for you give it out when you are checking out, like at the bath store, and they want your email. Give it to places like that you know are just going to be randomly shooting you stuff that you are not going to look at because you're not going to buy stuff online. And then have another email that is for like your patient portals and your electric bill and the things that you need to look at and the things that are important. Those promotional emails that they just shoot out regularly, those you don't want to be looking at all the time. So just give them an email that is just going to be for that junk mail, and have an email that is for the stuff that's important. Those are the bills you need to pay. This other stuff is just extra trying to entice you to buy things that we don't need. The third tip is to make it a practice to not download any apps that are going to have additional things you have to purchase to use the app. A lot of times they will show us that the app is free, and the app is free to download, but then everything about using the app costs us money. I avoid those. If I happen to download one and think it's free and then see it's going to cost me to use it, I immediately delete that app. Those things can add up quicker than we realize. So I just make it a practice to not even use the ones that cost money. There's enough free version ones out there for other things, or ones that would substitute for whatever one that I was looking at. The fourth thing is to take a look at your auto ships and auto renewals of items. There are a lot of things that maybe we are enticed to sign up for and get 5% off or 10% off if we sign up for the auto renewal. And then we think later, oh, well, we'll just go in later and we'll cancel it. Maybe we forget, or maybe it's something that we think we're going to use this on a regular basis. It's okay. And then it keeps coming and it keeps coming and it starts stacking up, and you're like, wow, I have more than I need. Shut that off and try to make it a practice of looking at those regularly and shutting them down. Because if we have a whole closet full of cat food, toilet paper, whatever it is that we put on auto ship, we don't need to have it keep coming just for that 5 or 10% discount. We already have plenty to probably last the rest of the year. But those things will get us. Those auto renewals, sometimes for certain services, they require you sign up for an auto renewal. And then when you cancel it, they go ahead and charge you anyway, and it takes a while to get that stuff stopped. So try to stay on top of that because that can be a real crunch in your budget. The fifth tip is to have a separate budget for your snacks, for your drive-throughs, for your special things that you want to splurge on when you're out and about. We do these things sometimes anyway, even if we plan not to. Maybe we end up being gone longer than we think we're going to be gone, or we forget and leave our drink at home and we end up buying something. It happens. But to help us stay on budget, if you keep a snack budget or one of those splurge budgets, it doesn't have to be very much, and then track what you spend, it will help you keep from that getting away from you and it messing up your budget. We all end up doing some of these little extras here and there, and these unplanned extras can really cut into our basic needs money. My sixth tip is to evaluate how you're doing your grocery shopping and when you're doing your grocery shopping. When I still had a bunch of kids at home, I would work during the week in the city. And then on the weekend, I'd be like, oh, now I need more milk because somebody drank it, or more cheese, or I was wanting to make this and now I need this. And I would run to the store, and every weekend, I would end up spending like an extra $50 to $75 trying to get the things that I was out of or the things that I had missed. And I realized really quickly that those weekend shopping trips, they were costing me between $200 and $400 extra dollars a month, plus the gas running around. And I shut that down. I was like, if I'm out of it on Friday night, Saturday, or Sunday, we will just make do until Monday. I'm not doing any more of those weekend trips because it is killing my spending money for the rest of the month. So take a look at your habits when it comes to grocery shopping. For me now, I just try to pair it up when I have another errand I need to run in town. And then I just top off whatever I need. And sometimes it's a very small amount that I'm picking up, but that's okay because I don't need to spend $50 every time I go in just to make it worth my drive now, because now I'm doing it when I'm running errands for other things. So let me show you my small top shop that I did just this week. Just a small little produce pickup today when I was in town doing some other things. I got a 5-pound bag of manager special potatoes on sale at Walmart for $2. They also had these 5-pound mandarins on sale for $3. They had avocados on sale for 30 cents. I only picked up one, and bananas for 49 cents a pound. I thought those were tremendous deals. My seventh tip is if you are planning a vacation, take a look at some different dates, some different months to see what they charge. My husband and I had gone on a couple of trips in April, and we flew to Florida and stayed there for a week. And while we were there the last time, we started taking a look at what it would cost if we went like in May. It was cheaper in May than it was in April. We thought we were getting the non-seasonal rates in April, and they were actually cheaper in May. And we were sitting there going, why is it cheaper in May? Well, probably because people are still finishing up school with their kids. They can't take off. Some people's spring breaks are in April, depending on what state you're in. And it started making sense to us. We had always before looked at when I could get off, when he could get off, and we tried to combine our work schedules to plan our vacation, not when we could travel, that it was the least expensive. And if you're sitting there going, I cannot afford a vacation, I saw the neatest little scenario the other day. They said if you go out to eat like breakfast and lunch or coffee and lunch on your way to work every day, maybe that's $15. That could add up to $5,400 a year minus the 5 holidays if you didn't take a vacation that year, and that could pay for a vacation. And I thought, wow, what a great way to look at that. If you cut out some of those extra splurge food spending things and started like taking your own lunch or making your own coffee and taking both your breakfast and your lunch, how much would that add up to? Our 2 Florida vacations didn't even equal $5,400. We could have taken 2 vacations for that. My next tip is to not just look at the big ticket items that you're spending on. So many people look at housing, childcare, transportation, insurances. They look at those big amounts and they say, there's no way for me to cut there, so I really can't save any money because I need big amounts. I need big amount savings, and these little amounts don't help enough. They aren't going to get me there. Well, I think that consistency can turn into a big amount. If we can just be consistent with the way we are saving money, those amounts can save a lot more than you think. I have mentioned before that we started unplugging everything and shutting off breakers of things that we were not using, and doing full house assessments on what was plugged in, taking out those multiple outlet adapters and all these things because we had so much stuff plugged in. We had outdoor outlets turned on that we never used except maybe once a year. And it saved us $100 a month. Well, $100 doesn't sound like much, but when you put that together, that's $1,200 a year. And if you find a bunch of other little things that you can combine with that and be consistent, that savings turns into a lot more money. So don't just give up because you can't cut those big expenses. Look at all those little ways that you can combine that might end up making more of a difference than you realize. Just a little break in the middle of this heavy conversation to show you that I moved my indoor garden outside because the weather was doing better. It opened up room in my office. And of course, if you have a cat, they are going to find that empty spot and they're going to have to sit in it. My ninth tip is to try to capture all of those large or infrequent purchases that you have to make, whether it's tires, oil changes, whether it is bus passes or semi-annual costs like your car insurance or your property taxes. Try to capture those in your budget and then save a little bit every month towards those. That makes those expenses a lot easier to handle. So in the intro, I talked about how only about 45% of people have $1,000. A lot of those infrequent expenses, that ends up eating up that $1,000 that a lot of people have stuck back thinking that they have savings because they forget those infrequent bills that are going to pop up. So try to capture those when you do your budget. My 10th tip is to monitor your credit cards, your bank accounts every single day. Now, you may think you don't have time for this, but I can tell you if something gets charged there or gets taken out of your bank account, it's going to take you a lot more time to get that fixed, making phone calls and getting things stopped. Because if you can catch it that day, you can get it stopped. Call that credit card company and say, hey, I just saw this company charged me this for an auto renewal and I had canceled it. I need that stopped. Call the bank and say, I just saw a suspicious charge on my checking account. I did not make this. Their fraud department will step in and they will help you with that. But you have to catch those things quickly. I monitor mine every single day. It just takes a few minutes to get in there and check. And like I had shared with you, when we had one of those Florida vacations, they double charged like our card. I checked it every day on vacation because that's one of the best times for them to take advantage of you. They know you're traveling, they think you're not really looking at that stuff. I was looking at it every day and I caught it immediately, and it still took me several weeks to get that refund from them because they didn't want to give it to me, even though they fraudulently charged it to my card. So take a look at those every single day. It's so, so important, and it really does save you time. My next tip is to look at your simple habits. Simple habits can creep up on us, like we talked about, like going out every day and maybe picking up your breakfast on the way to work. Just starting that simple habit and then doing it all year long, it can totally mess up plans for a vacation. It can cause couple conflicts if you keep your money together, and it can mess up what you're going to pay on payday because it can leave you in the hole. So look at those simple habits because it's kind of like that daily unplugging of things. It can add up to a lot bigger amount than what we realize. And those simple habits are so easy to start. That's why they give us like a free coffee or something at certain places if you sign up for their app, because they hope if you come for that free coffee that you'll come again tomorrow. And it only takes 2 or 3 times, and they have formed a habit of you coming to see them every day and spending $5 to $7. So look at those simple habits because they can really mess up your budget and mess up your future plans. My next tip is to just for a couple of weeks, write down what you use up out of your home. If you use up a bag of pasta, write it down. If you use up a carton of coffee, write it down. And it will help you see like how much you're going through, how quickly you're going through it, and whether or not you are purchasing more than you need. When I was wintering in Texas for 3 months, I started doing this, and it was a huge eye opener. Then when I came home to my house and took a look at my pantry, I realized how much I was overbuying because in my mind, I guess I thought we were going through things quicker than we actually were, and then I had too much back stock. So write down what you're actually going through, and it will help you get a better hold on the amount that you're purchasing and what you are purchasing. My next tip is to use up the last bit of something before you open something else. Sometimes we can have a half a package of spaghetti, a half a package of bow tie pasta, a half a package of macaroni noodles. We can have lots of little bits and dabs left over, and it helps us with our purchasing to stay on track, to use up the last of something before we open something else. I had this rule with my kids when they were all at home that we had to use up the cereal before we opened another cereal, because sometimes you'd go and there'd be like 5 cereals open because they all opened one, and then 1 or 2 wouldn't get used up and it would go stale. So open up what you're going to use and do that once you've used the last of something. My husband and I still have this rule here because we just don't go through things that fast. So to open up 2 packages of cereal or 2 packages of coffee or anything would be silly, because then we wouldn't really know how much we had if we look, because we're seeing dabs of everything, and some of it might go bad before it gets used up when there's only 2 of us. So it's just a good rule of practice to use up what you have before you open another. I watched this hilarious TikTok the other day of a mom talking about her lunch meat and her saying, "Who opened the lunch meat? Now we have to eat this within 3 days. Didn't you know we were going out for dinner tonight? I couldn't sleep last night. I was worried about the lunch meat." So opening up one thing like that at a time can make a huge difference so that we don't spoil the things that our hard-earned money has purchased. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for listening. I appreciate you all being here. If you have any other tips for us, put them in the comments below. I love reading them, and I hope to see you in the next video.